Welcome to the Coaching Life, everyone. This is the first episode of Season 3. I'm here with my good buddy, Coach Chris Stewart. Coach, it's late, but we're up and we're ready to talk about some sports. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Ready for Season 3. Ready for another year of the Coaching Life. We're embarking on our second year here after the wonderful article that we had written about us in the new front page news in our county.
Alex did a great job.
He did. He did. 3 newspapers.
Couldn't be more grateful.
Front page news in 3 newspapers. That's fantastic. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Far exceeded my expectation for sure.
Yeah. Well, happy Labor Day.
Yeah. We're heading into that here in the next hour and a half. I guess it would be good to tell people that we're recording at 10:30 at night here after a long weekend of baseball for both of us.
But we've been planning this episode all week. Been preparing for it all week long.
Yeah.
It's kicking off our official Season 3 of the Coaching Life podcast on our Labor Day week here of 2020. It's been a wonderful year. 2020 has been a great year, as people say.
It's all perspective.
It's right? It's right. It's all in how you look at it, right? It's all in how you respond to the events that are out of your control. Yep. So that's what we're going to choose to do. This is going to be the best season yet of the Coaching Life podcast.
Looking forward to it.
That's exactly right. I think one of the reasons why I look forward to it, and I think one of the reasons why I'm excited, it's not like we're doing a whole bunch of, we have a whole bunch of different stuff planned to do in the podcast. But as I got to thinking, Pat, about a new season of the Coaching Life podcast, I thought, what would I want to do? What do I think I would like to hear us talk about or hear us do on the podcast to remind us what the heart of this podcast is about? And as you and I talked earlier this week, one of the things that we decided to do was we wanted to hear from kids, didn't we? I mean, we said, let's ask kids some really important questions, some rather deep questions, actually. I don't know that we got any deep answers from those deep questions, but we got answers. And I think it'd be interesting for us to play some of the interviews that we took with kids that we got their permission to use. At least I asked for permission to the ones I taped. I hope you did too.
I did as well. And so, you sat down and you say, hey, I want to ask you a question for the podcast. And a lot of the kids are like, no way. Or, they'll say, are you going to record it? Or are you going to videotape it? I was just the voice. And they're like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
But they'll sit on a PlayStation on a video and play with complete strangers across the country.
Yeah, exactly. But some kids though are like, yeah, I'll do it.
Ask I know. Yeah. Some get excited about it, and it's fun. I think it's fun to hear from kids, and I guess at the heart of the matter for me, the reason why I kind of wanted to do this is because I believe that kids in the last 6 months have been our forgotten population in many ways.
Well, and I would say, Coach, that in the past 20 years or 30 years or so, I think that as adults in general, we've taken the kids, or we've taken sports in general, not just baseball, but sports in general, away from the kids. And because, well, I'll just say that, I was convicted Saturday as I was coaching, my son, Jeremiah, and it's funny, you as you go along this journey and you try to be, the best coach and dad that you can be, you there's things that you experience and there's things that you are prepared for. Like you fail and you're like, oh, I failed at that. I'm prepared for it to handle that next time. And then, and then it, if it happens, you handle it better. It's like, oh, that's a win. you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm on a journey now of being a better coach, of being a better parent, and then something new pops up, and you fail that test, and there are some parts in the game that there's one part in the game that I got on Jeremiah pretty good, and just asking these kids these questions, it just made me think that it belongs to them. The experience belongs to them, and they may screw up, and they may even have a bad attitude sometimes. They may make a personal mistake in a game that they absolutely deserve, to be criticized for, to be corrected on, I guess I would say. But 30 years ago, these kids, me, we would be making these mistakes out in the sandlot or out in the wiffle ball field. Mm-hmm. And we would have to learn from those mistakes ourselves. And I think as parents, we think, oh, my kid's not going to act that way, or my kid's not going to make that mistake, or, this isn't acceptable. And there's certain situations that's true, but you know what? You don't always have to approach those situations during a baseball game.
Yeah.
Or during a sports game that they're out there playing and having fun with. Because the simple fact of the matter is, and we've said this before in different contexts, if they love the game, one, they'll be better players, and two, they'll respect it as they grow and they mature. And if you take away in any way that love of the game, then you're hindering that process. So I guess for me, it was a good time to sit down and talk to some of these kids, and just to hear them talk about baseball.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And sometimes I think it's the way they answer the questions, or the way that they're kind of maybe taken aback by it, or just kind of, I don't know, and then they'll just throw out an answer, and they just kind of go on to the next thing. And it's not that deep, and I think sometimes just the fact that that's the way the answer is a good reminder of perspective for us, that's the depth that these kids are at when they're out there playing the game, and we sometimes forget that. We forget that we assume that they're thinking all the same things we are, or I guess I should say we assume that they should be thinking all the things that we're thinking and considering everything. And sometimes they're just thinking, you're like, what's your least favorite part about sports? And they're like, making an out. It's like, is that all you're going to give me? Is that for real? But sometimes, that's what they're thinking right now is my least favorite part, because it's the most recent thing that happened. And we're thinking on a deeper level, and we're always thinking about the next play, and we're always thinking about the next game and how this is going to affect us, down the road and everything. And he's just like, I just want to see this ball right here and hit it as hard as I can, and that's
the purity of the game.
It is. Yeah.
We're the ignorant disciples in that situation. When the disciples were telling the kids to I have time for you, and Jesus said, that's how all of you should approach me, the way these kids do. And I think I learned a lesson from talking to these kids. At least, if not a lesson, it's probably something I already knew, but I was definitely convicted.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. So it was a good opportunity.
Well, let's go into the dugout.
Good weekend.
Let's go in the dugout here with your kids. Does that sound good?
All right, let's do it.
Here's one.
What is your favorite coach like? It's a tough question, isn't it?
He's a first base coach.
First base coach?
Yes.
So he's got to coach first base.
Yes.
What else?
And I don't know.
You don't know anything about it? Just as long as he coaches first base, you're good with him.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So,
that was one of the best.
It's an example. Yeah, it's examples like, because you're thinking, when you ask that question, what's your favorite coach like? You're thinking like, give me something about his characteristics and his personality and his traits. And my favorite coach is the one that tell me to run through the bag or turn and look at the ball. That's my favorite coach.
Oh, yeah. That was good
Classic.
stuff. But you know what I was thinking there? I know this kid. He's got a great heart, and he's a player. I'll tell you that too. He's a young kid, and he's going to be a stud. His older brother was a stud too, or is a stud. But I think he had someone in mind.
Oh, a specific
that he was getting to, and then like he thought, wait a second, I don't want to say he's my favorite coach because I have other good coaches too in my that I like too, So,
and are you one of his coaches?
I am one of his coaches.
So it's kind of tough for him because he's like,
yeah.
Do you want me to say you are my favorite coach?
Yeah, that's kind of like I was waiting, what he was going to do, but that was rich there. That was good stuff.
Yeah. All right, we're going to dip back into the bag here. These are just random. Right. These are random. I don't know what's coming up.
What is the main reason you play sports? Any sport. It don't have to be baseball. It can be any sport. What's the main reason you play?
Because it's fun.
Because it's fun.
I have something to do, so I don't stay in the house.
Yeah, there you go. Good reason.
He must have heard his mom say that one time.
Well, I tell you what, it's we mentioned that, you mentioned over the last 6 months that the kids have kind of been forgotten.
Yeah.
I've actually talked to a few people over the last couple of weeks that have mentioned that, they feel like their kids have been a little depressed about, the uncertainty that they're facing and, the situation they find themselves in of not being able to be out with their friends and, things like that. So I felt like I felt that in that answer that there's just been a lot of hold, everything's been on hold. And these kids being able to come together and play ball, I obviously it's a positive thing, but I feel like you can just see them breathe a little easier sometimes. Now, I think we talked about it there before we came back. What would you be willing to give up if we were able to start playing tomorrow or something like that? And the games are still intense, and this kids still get nervous and things like that. Mm-hmm. Nothing's changed from that aspect. That's sports. That's just how it's always going to be because that's one great thing about sports. So not even a pandemic.
Well, and sometimes that intensity takes our mind off of other things that
absolutely.
That we could be getting more intense about as well.
Yep, I've always said that. I felt like when I was younger and I stepped on the field, I didn't think anything could touch me out there. Like nothing else mattered. It was just you were just free.
Nothing else matters except this and all of these guys around me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
exactly.
and that's the thing. I don't know if you saw Herbstreit's about a minute 40 long message yesterday on College Game Day, but man, it was solid. It was.
I didn't see it.
It was emotional. Yeah, and that's kind of a point he was making is that this is football in the college locker room, on the football team, on a sports team, when you're together, it's like it does something. He was talking about the importance of having the football back, having the game back, and
sure.
in light of the events in the world, and everything, and he said, there is no, it's just brothers when you're playing together. It's brothers, it's like there is no that racial tension when I'm blocking for you, and you're running the ball and we get in that end zone together. It's like all we are is brothers there. And he said there's a reason why we need sports and why we need this, because sports has a way of erasing a lot of things that are ugly about us. And
absolutely. I think it's something that transcends politics, because I don't think I feel like most people agree that it's something we need and something we want desperately. And even if you fall on the side of, well, we should be cautious and not push it, or you fall on the side of we need to do it absolutely no matter what, the agreement's still there that it's important.
Yeah.
And again, that's just another thing that makes it great, you know.
No doubt. Well, I actually asked some kids today a question along these lines, and I'll let it play here.
All right.
All right. So here's the question. From about mid-March until close to June, we sat in our homes, right, and didn't do hardly anything. And you probably wondered, were we ever going to get a chance to play some sports, play baseball? What was the worst thing about that?
The worst thing about that was just doing online school and just everything running through your mind. Like, will I get to play sports? Will I get to do anything this summer? Just stuff like that, because if you don't get to do anything all summer, it makes your summer very boring.
What also made it bad was you didn't know what was going to happen, and you couldn't hang out with any of your buddies. You were just sitting at home rotting because you couldn't go anywhere, and it just wasn't any fun.
If you could say anything you wanted, if you had a chance, if you had a one-on-one personal meeting, like a lunch with Governor Mike DeWine, what would you say to Governor Mike DeWine? You got an answer for that, Jackson?
A virus always spreads, so open stuff up.
Anyone else? Knowledge.
Everybody's gonna get it. So at some point, everybody's gonna get it. So that's why we should just open stuff.
Those kids sound scared?
No, they don't sound scared for sure. But I tell you, there's a word used there that really.
I know what word you're going to say.
Yeah, rotting.
Rotting.
That.
Yeah, that caught my attention too when that kid said that.
That's a sad word, and I think it gives us a little bit of insight into what these guys and girls are going through. So,
yeah,
sad. I don't really know what to say to that.
Yeah,
that's tough. We're gonna make it. We're gonna push through.
and the again, it's why they need sports.
Yeah,
you know, these are kids that got a chance to play a little bit of ball in the summertime, and after that empty time, that rotting time, you know, they got a chance to go out there and play, and everything's all right.
Yeah,
everything's all right, and yeah, you can see that there's something different about the ball diamond, and so that segment there was from Columbus, Ohio. Let's go back down to Middleport. Let's go back down to Middleport.
Actually, some of these questions might have been asked in Pomeroy as well.
Okay, there you go. We're all over the southern part of Ohio, southeastern part of Ohio here.
What makes sports not fun to you?
I don't know.
What's going on when you're usually not having fun in sports? You don't know? Well, ask somebody else then.
All right. Well, we'll go to somebody else.
Holton, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
When you're playing sports, what makes it not fun? Like, think of when you're playing sports and you're not having fun. What's happening?
Not having fun. Probably when it's really, really hot and you're really, really thirsty and your pitcher keeps walking the batter, so it takes a really long time to get it in the shade.
Amen, Holden.
And then when you wait an entire inning to bat, you strike out. That's what makes it really not fun.
All right, yeah, I got you. Good answer.
Yeah, buddy, I'm with him. That's my kid right there. That's my guy. Base on balls, man. Everybody hates them. How old are these kids? They sound young.
That's 10U there.
Okay,
yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's I can't remember who the first kid was that I asked, and he didn't really have an answer. But isn't that telling that he couldn't come up with
Yeah,
he couldn't come up with what makes sports not
fun.
The question was kind of foreign to him. What do you mean sports not fun? You know, He couldn't come up with one. I think that's a little telling, but. Holden's a good kid there. He's been hitting the ball really well too. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I asked that same question today.
Here's another question. All right, Jack, you want to answer this one?
Yeah.
What makes sports fun?
What makes sports fun
wrong one.
is just spending time with like people you enjoy while playing the game. I just enjoying the game of baseball and playing it with people you enjoy to be around.
I like it. Anybody else want to answer that one?
Hartman Jackson. I think it's fun to learn the game and get better, and to play as a team and win. And it's awesome to grow with. It's fun to grow with your teammates. And
Good deal. All right, I'm going to flip that question. What makes sports not fun? You have an answer for that one?
What makes sports not fun is when you make a mistake, when you get yelled at instead of getting picked up. And because everybody's going to make mistakes once or twice while playing any sport. And just, if you're getting yelled at, you don't really want to be there anymore.
Good answer. Anybody else have one? Answer for that? Yeah?
To kind of add on to Patrick's, like, you made the mistake, and then people are just like, you should have done this, should have done that, not to make the mistake. It's, you made a mistake, don't need to be, like, reminded of it and be yelled at. And
Gotcha.
I want to add a little more context to that answer there, because I talked with those kids a little bit more about that after I turned the microphone off, and I said, I said off the record here, off the air, can you get more specific with me about who? Right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't always coach.
Yep.
It wasn't always. I'll just say it that way. It's not always coach that is doing the reminding us of all the mistakes we made in the game.
Yeah, that's some golden information there that anybody that listens to the podcast and is a coach or a parent can immediately apply.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to what I what I kind of opened the discussion with there. So that hits home. That's
no doubt.
That's gold.
I think you had one that answered something similar.
Tell me something you've learned recently that was new. Something new you've learned, either this year or the last sports season you had. What's something new that you've learned?
I don't really know.
You can't think of anything? That's not good. We need to learn, right? We should be learning all the time. You can't think of anything that you learned? Okay.
That wasn't the clip I thought I was playing. Let me try this one.
Tell me something that you've learned recently in sports. It doesn't have to be baseball, any sport. But if you got something in baseball, that'll be good.
All right, it's pretty stupid. But
Nothing stupid.
It's something that I've learned.
Okay, what is it?
All right. Catcher's gloves are not good for infield.
That's a good lesson to learn right there.
I thought they were good because like the
not good for infield.
Well, he's right, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good lesson.
There's a reason why you don't wear them out there. He's a character. He's the life of the party. So it's always fun when he's near. We have some pretty fun conversations. Oh, he sounds like he's a character.
Day, he was naming all of his sports dads to me, telling me, that, like, well, you're like my 8th sports dad, and then here's, this person's my 7th and 6th, and then, he gets down to, my real dad is,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
David of all. But
Griff, I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
What's the biggest goal that you would like to accomplish in a sport? It can be any sport, don't have to be baseball. But if it is baseball, what's your biggest goal you'd like to accomplish?
Make it to college.
Make it to college. What college you want to go to? Do you know? Do you have any picked out? Any D1 college.
Yep.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you're planning a future conversation with him about that.
Well, we had that conversation, and he completely, definitely brought up our buddy Randy Dobnak and the success that he's having in the major leagues, and he said it's just his goal to play D1.
Sure,
but,
nothing wrong with that.
He don't have any qualms about playing in the D2 or D3 school, and whatever gets him gets him the opportunity to play, or gets him the opportunity to go to school for a lesser price.
Is this a 10-year-old? That's an older kid.
12-year-old.
Okay.
And he's an older 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Plays a lot of travel ball. Good ball player.
So he's already thinking about those goals. Good deal. Good deal. Yeah.
So we had that conversation. That was, that was good.
That's good. And it's important, because I know way too many kids who have that same dream, but they limit it. The dream is limited to play D1 ball instead of play college baseball.
Yeah, that was one of the things we talked about is not, if you if you don't get a D1 college that's interested in you, that's not time to give up on your dream of playing for a D1 college, because you can always make it there, year 2, year 3, and whatnot. So
and quite frankly, it has no bearing on the most important aspect of all. Well, one, your education. That's your most important aspect. But I would say a close second is your experience. In fact, your experience may not be all that at a D1 school, and you could have an absolutely phenomenal experience at a smaller school.
Yep, definitely talked about. We had different people, but I know I can remember talking about this with Brock about picking a college that you would be willing to go to and be comfortable going to if your baseball career or whatever sport you're playing doesn't pan out. Injuries happen. Programs shut down, right? And we're experiencing that now. So anything can happen. So that choice that you make, you want it to be a universal, well-rounded choice.
Yeah, no doubt.
All things we've talked about in the past.
Right. All right, let's get some more kids on here.
Got a question for you. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite sports coach like? Describe your favorite coach.
I don't know. I really don't.
Do you have a favorite coach?
Not really.
Do you have 5 favorite coaches?
No.
No? Do you have least favorite coaches?
I like one guy. One guy is like the coach for Ohio State, Ryan Day, whatever his name is.
No. The coaches that coach you.
Oh.
Who's your favorite? What? Tell me something. Describe your favorite coaches. Like, what do you like best in a coach that coaches you?
They are always really nice and they don't get really mad if you ever mess up, and they teach you to never give up.
All right. Good answer.
Man, what's wrong with this generation of kids? None of them want to get yelled at. They're all weaklings.
Yeah, they go.
Oh, they all got to be nice, and they don't get mad at you when you mess up. Who told them that?
Let me tell you something. Well, let me tell you something about that kid.
Because my kids said it too, didn't they? They said the same thing.
A little bit, yeah. Well, here's
come on, suck it up, boys.
I think there's a line, there's a threshold, and a lot of people when they first, when they think about that, discipline or critiquing or whatever, they usually start at the wrong extreme, as opposed to thinking about the kid and how it might impact that, specific kid. But that kid that answered that question never needs anyone to holler at him or say anything to him, because he is harder on himself than a coach could ever be.
And a lot of kids are, and you don't know, and we don't know that. We don't realize that. I like what one of the kids said that on the clip that I already played from the 14-year-olds that I was talking to today. He said, one of the reasons why it's tough to hear someone harping on my mistakes is because I already know that I made it, and I'm already thinking about it enough, And I think
it's not productive.
There's a difference between coaching a kid up who has made a mistake, and versus harping on the mistake and doing basically magnifying the exact same thing that's going on in his mind right now or her mind right now after having made it. And that's, that creates a mistake avoidance culture that we've discussed a number of times on this podcast that you don't want to have on your team, because then they play to not make mistakes because they're scared that, they're worried to death that you're going to harp on it every time that they make one. And,
That's exactly what I did this weekend.
Is that right?
Jeremiah rounded second in a situation that he really shouldn't have rounded second. The ball came in behind him, and he was out. It worked out. He didn't get out. He could have been out. And but what's he doing there? He's being an aggressive base runner, and if he gets out, he learns. He didn't. So, but he knew how close it was. But I'm shouting from first base, and he's on third. And one of the things that stuck with me is I yelled, and I heard some parents behind me kind of go, "Whoa!" And I thought, but then I tried to patch it up because what he was running off of was a shot to right center, a double to right center.
So the ball was behind him, and as he was running a second, he needed to have his eyes up, looking at the third base coach because he doesn't have eyes behind his head.
It was. Yeah, I mean, he knew that the outfielder had the ball as he was heading into second base in right center gap. But that's a good point too. I mean, you could definitely say that in most situations that's he should. The problem was he wasn't picking up the third base coach, but it's just one of those things. And I'm yelling at him during the game, and that could be something that we talk about in between innings. I mean,
yeah, it's a good reason to have a notebook on you too. Because it's a lot easier to sit down and talk about these things later when the emotions aren't high. Yeah.
I know, Coach. I mean, we've talked about this.
Yeah. There was a kid today in a game today that did something. He balked as he was pitching, and it was the top half of the first inning, and the game had just started. We were the home team, and he was pitching, and he had a runner on second base, and he was doing a really nice job of controlling the running game, varying up his looks and changing his rhythm and things like that. But he had a couple of deliveries where he paused at the high point of his motion, after he came set, and as he began to go to the plate, he paused and looked back at the runner, did a little Johnny Cueto type of spin around thing, and it's not his normal motion. And he almost balked once while doing that. And then the second time he did it, he didn't come to any pause at all. He just kind of went into that, and the umpire called it a balk and everything. And so, it's frustrating because he's a smart kid and smart player and everything, but he was just trying to be a little too cute, I think. And I told the other coaches, I said, I'll talk to him, when he gets in here. And then I looked up at the chart and I was reminded, he's in the 2 hole. And so I said, I'll talk to him after he's done pitching. It's not going to happen again. I'll talk to him later. And so I just kind of made a note of it. And then, because he was already upset about it and everything, it didn't actually end up hurting him. The run didn't score. We got out of the inning, but it was noticeably different, the conversation that I was able to have with this young man after the game, when neither one of us were emotionally charged about the mistake, and he responded very well. He's like, that's a good point, because I just explained to him. I said, control the running game from the set position, from you do a good job of it. So once you've committed to go to the plate, you don't have to try to. You're not going to fool that guy, by looking back at him as you're going to the plate. All you're going to do is you're going to distract yourself from what your main purpose is in that moment, was to throw the pitch. And he's like, yeah, that's a good point. I'll work on that. And I think that if I had shared that with him as soon as he comes off the field, well, one, he's thinking about his at bat that he's getting ready to prepare for, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like those team meetings between every inning. One, I hate slowing the game down, but I hate it when like a team has a horrible inning and they come off the field and a coach gathers them and he harps on everything that happened in that inning, and now we're getting ready to bat, right? With that mindset, now it's like, okay, let's get these runs back. We just gave them a whole bunch. Let's get them back right now. Well, All right, Yeah, we suck. We know, Coach. So I guess we'll get them back somehow. And then you have a quick 1, 2, 3 inning, and you're right back out there again. But before you go out there, you have that team meeting again. About how it swung at bad pitches, and you went down looking and all this stuff. So now you take those at bats to the field again because we're having meetings between every inning and every half inning, and the game lasts 3 hours long instead of an hour and a half. And can you tell that I've experienced some teams that have done that as my kids have grown up?
Well, I think it's a very valid point. I think it's very important too. You got to think of, as a coach, what's the goal?
Yeah.
Are you trying to point out a flaw, or are you trying to make your player better? And if you're trying to make your player better, you have to consider what's the best environment, what's the best context, to have a discussion about something that they did wrong.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's something that we have to look out for, and it's like one of those things. Like I said, that it's easy to get caught up. And you use the word emotion. That's a great word, because a lot of times when we're in that moment, crazy things could happen. But we got to be disciplined, right?
That's right.
In order to be significant, we have to be disciplined.
Yeah, you throw that in there you throw our two words of 2020 in there about every podcast now. I like it.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm trying to remind myself.
That's one way to remind yourself. Put it in a podcast every week, because there's an audio record of that.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right, back to the kids.
What's the biggest goal you would like to accomplish in your favorite sport? Doesn't have to be baseball. It could be any sport.
Probably get to college and keep going.
Go to what do you have a favorite college you want to go to?
Obviously, Ohio State.
Ohio State, and then you say keep going. You want to play pro ball?
Yeah.
What pro team would you prefer to go to?
In baseball, it'd be the Phillies.
The Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Cool. That's cool.
That kid's jacked a couple home runs this year.
All right.
He reminds you of a good old Philly.
Is this a 14-year-old, 13-year-old?
That's a. Actually, I think he
boy
just
sounded
turned 12.
older. Oh wow,
he's a bigger kid, tall, and I'm surprised. Actually, we went to a couple of tournaments that people didn't ask for verse. He may be 14. I'm not for sure. I feel like the pandemic's kind of screwed things up a little bit as far as the age group goes. Maybe he did just turn 13 this year. Maybe he'll be moving up to to 13U next year. That might be right.
Let me tell you, this team that my brother's team faced today just played right before I got home from Hilliard. Had a kid that was a legit prospect. If any college coaches would be walking by a field and watch this kid play as a 14-year-old, they'd make a note of him. He
really?
He was legit, man. He started out. He caught the first game. We played him twice. He caught the first game, and he threw a kid out. He threw one of our kids out in the first inning. And I thought, dang on, that was a seed, And so the next inning, as the pitcher's warming up, I got my stopwatch out. I haven't been doing the stopwatch on these 14-year-old kids, but I got my stopwatch out and did his pop time, 218.
Wow.
14-year-old, 218. There's a lot of high schoolers that can't throw that. I mean, they'll tell you they do. They'll tell you, like, I throw 178. Yeah, right. But 218 now is that's good. And he ended up playing. He ended up playing short. He's a tall kid. I'd say 6 foot tall, or maybe even more. I don't know.
And this was 90 feet bases. 14 years.
Oh yeah. He threw 127 feet. So he played shortstop starting the second game and just was smooth. I mean, just you.
Is this did he play for Hilliard?
Yeah, the Hilliard Colts, and then they we were. We already had the lead by a couple of runs, and then we're threatening again, got bases loaded, and so they put him in the pitch, and he struck the next 3 batters out. There's no outs, bases loaded, and he struck the next 3 batters out.
Wow.
Just nasty stuff. Yeah. I mean, just completely different level, like velocity, breaking pitch, it was all different level. And wow. I mean, it's one of those kids that when you watch him play, it's like he's not playing like a 14-year-old.
Well, that's a good opportunity for the Raptors to get to play against.
It was.
It's a talent like that.
Oh, and and he went ahead and pitched the next couple innings, and we kids hit him. I mean, we had a few kids hit him.
Good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, he was legit. Good, very good player. All right, let's see here.
Okay, I want to ask you, what is something new that you recently learned in baseball or any sport? Doesn't matter.
I learned how to throw a changeup.
Say it loud.
I learned how to throw a changeup.
All right. Have you thrown it in a game?
Yeah, but I sucked at it.
Is that your boy? That sounded like Jeremiah.
That was him. What he doesn't know.
That's an awesome answer.
What he doesn't know is he didn't suck at it because he threw it in the dirt.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you're going to miss with that pitch, you want to miss there, right? So, yeah, that's him.
And that, if you're going to suck at it, fall ball is a perfect time to suck at it. Learn
By the way,
new
I did
stuff.
not tell him that. I did not say that.
Yeah, right. What made him think he sucked at it? Yeah. No, that's what I asked kids today. I said after the fall games this afternoon, I said, because we lost both of them, and I said, guys, fall baseball is like practice. I mean, you're practicing. I mean, you're just practicing. You're trying to get better, right?
Yep.
And how many of you remember what your fall record was from last year? A couple kids were like, geez, I can't remember back that far. And one kid's like, I don't even remember if we played last fall. And then the kid beside him poked him. He was like, we played last fall. What are you talking about? We played in the same tournament. Things. But I said, that's the point, guys, is you lost 2 games today and you lost 2 games yesterday. And you're thinking, gosh, this is the worst thing in the world. But the worst thing in the world is if you walk away from here today and you don't feel like you gave a great effort and you didn't get any better and you didn't learn anything new. That's the worst thing in the world, because this time that we're working out here in the fall, that's where you need to be making mistakes, because you're going to learn from the mistakes that you make. And as long as you're okay with understanding how learning takes place, which means, yes, pointing out your mistake and then talking about it a little bit in a rational way, and then saying, okay, what do you think you could do differently the next time the situation arises? And then you become mindful of that, and then you take a step forward, because when the situation arises again, you have a benchmark in your mind that reminds you, oh, you know what, this has happened to me before, and I made the mistake, so I'm going to do it differently. And it's how you see kids learn how to execute a good rundown because they did it really poorly one time. Well, then you learn from that, and they get better at it. And it's so much fun to see it executed well. And which, by the way, we saw a nice one of those executed today. And
sweet,
nice. Yeah. And
how many throws did it take?
More than necessary. 3. Yeah. I want 1. Yep. I want 1 throw. Yeah.
That's my coach. That's right.
Yeah. You know how many base on balls is too many?
1.
Right answer. Yep.
Yep, that's for sure. Yep.
Good deal. We got a few more words from kids.
All right, I got a question for you. What makes sports not fun?
Losing.
Thank you.
I agree.
Yeah, that's good.
We're always out there playing to win.
And that's the thing. It's like that's another thing. Kids want to win.
Yeah. Yeah, they're competitive.
But they're not out there trying to lose. At least, generally they're not.
Right.
They would prefer to win. So if you find yourself in a situation where you don't understand why kids are acting a certain way or something like that, it's probably not because they don't care to win. There's probably another challenge in front of them that you need to help them get over.
Yeah. Yeah. Believe it or not, your kids want to win as much as the other team. So stop saying they wanted it more. Because the other team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a rough one, isn't it?
It is.
Especially in the game, in a game like baseball where so many odd things.
Oh, I know.
Can happen.
They just wanted it more than we did.
Oh, I mean that tonight that was the situation we were kind of in. I mean, the other team was playing really well, and they got a couple runs off some not off hard hit balls, just balls that found their way. Into the grass or in the dirt. Yep. And then, it's like, what can you do other than, hope that those breaks come around to you. So, Obviously they had to get at bats to put the ball in play and to make something happen. I'm just saying that anything.
Sometimes it's just the way the ball bounces, man. I mean, because you can take a horrible swing and get a base hit.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
a little duck
Absolutely.
fart, and you could lace one, like we've said 100 times, and you lace 3 or 4 in a row with bases loaded, and they catch them. Well, we've just stranded 3 runners on balls that we hit really well, and they scored on balls that they did not hit really well. So there's a lot of luck involved into it in it as well. So
that's why you
not
make
always
your bed
they
in the
wanted
morning,
it
right?
more. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So you can get back up.
How many more of these we got?
Got a couple. Got. I think maybe 2 more from you, and then one from me.
Logan, got a question for you.
Yeah.
What makes sports fun to you?
Just being out with friends, just playing around, being competitive, I guess.
That's a good answer. Thank you.
That kid's a dog.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a winner. He's tough. He definitely likes to win. Definitely wants to compete, just like he said.
Yeah.
Good kid to have on
being
your
competitive.
team.
Yeah, being a competitor. Yeah, that's that's a good answer for a kid who's like 12 years old.
Yep. He is that way, and he wants other kids around him to be that way too.
Cool.
Yep.
Good deal.
What episode is it going to be?
The next one. I don't know. Zach, let me ask you a question. What makes a good coach for you?
What makes a good coach is a coach who picks a good team and brings us all together and makes the game fun, basically.
Yeah. When you say pick a good team, what do you mean? Picks good players?
Yeah, picks good players that know each other and brings us together and we have fun.
Good answer.
That's my buddy Big Z. I knew he wouldn't let me down because when we've had guys on the podcast or we've asked kids questions before, we asked him a question and he had a big elaborate professional answer for us then too. So I knew you'd come with the goods. But did you?
He named like what's a good general manager.
Yes.
what's a good coach?
Yeah.
Right. Right. You're not just moving the piece. You're not just coaching the X's and the O's. You're actually like putting a team together. That's what makes a good coach, man. Being able to pick a good team. I love it.
Yeah, it was a great answer, definitely. Yeah, I think we don't give enough credence to that kind of stuff. It's important to have chemistry. I think that's what it comes down to, ultimately.
Yeah.
Is having a group of kids that enjoy being around each other and that can feed off each other and have fun together. That's an important trait of a baseball team. Probably a underrated trait.
No doubt.
To be honest with you. Yeah.
No doubt. Well, this is when I first sat down with some kids this afternoon from the Raptors team, and it's how I opened up with them and asked them if they'd like to come on our podcast.
Right. Okay, I'm sitting here with 7 14-year-olds who are getting ready to play a baseball game. Are all you all 14, aren't you? Most of you 13? Okay. All right. So I got a question for you, and if you want to say your name, you can. The question is, why do you play sports? Who wants to answer that? Who wants to answer first? You want to answer first? All right, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Patrick Udanovich.
All right, Patrick. Answer that question.
I play sports just because of my competitiveness. I just want to have a chance to go out, have fun, and win at all costs, and also just grow with a brotherhood with all my buddies out here.
Excellent. Anyone else want to answer? Have an answer to that one?
They clammed up there.
That was a hard answer to follow, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
That was a solid answer.
Yeah.
I feel like as we're listening to these guys talk, we hear some of the concepts are repeated, like, having fun and being around your friends and being around a group of guys, that brotherhood, a couple times was mentioned. And I hope that gives us insight into kind of as coaches and as adults, as a parents, what we're kind of dealing with here. It's, really, it really doesn't come down to wins and losses. Ultimately, it doesn't come down to, what your kid did at the plate on a fall Saturday, or how many strikeouts they had or anything like that. There's a lot of opportunity in sports that our kids are giving us. Just in these answers, you can hear them talk about some of the things that we can use to teach them about things that are, that are going to be far more important to them long after they stop walking on a baseball field or any type of sporting venue. And we should try our best to take advantage of that, because it's an easy way. It's a good way for us to develop them into, great human beings.
No doubt at all. Yeah, I just love the simplicity of those answers. It's not complex. It's not. It might not have been what you and I expected when we went into the project of wanting to interview kids. I thought to myself, when I listened to all of those little clips, I thought my first instinct was to think, these are a little disappointing. These answers are, but but here's the funny thing about that. Why they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be just, and I think that's the point. Is it's for the kid. These are the kids' answers. It's for and what we're doing is for the kids, and the games that we play, the games that we coach, the teams that we build, and the tournaments we plan to go to, and those events that we have. It is for them. And if what we are hearing in those answers is they are being fulfilled in that, and that's good enough for them, then we need to learn how to make that be good enough for us as well. Like, I guess I was telling myself, if those answers that they gave were truly their heartfelt answers in that moment, and that's good enough for them, it needs to be good enough for me as well. But I think sometimes I want to expect the kids to look upon this thing that we're experiencing, this game, the same exact way that I do. And I didn't look at it that way when I was a kid, when I was playing. Like we told Alex Hawley last week when we talked to him for our interview. I think one of the things that happened to me when I went from player to coach was I realized how much of the game that I really took for granted as a player, and how much I didn't know that I didn't know, just as a player, and how much I realized, wow, I really love this game. And when you start thinking about it that way, and you sit up and you talk with your old buddies, about just all the intricacies of the sport that you love, whether it's baseball or football or basketball or whatever, we need to remember we didn't necessarily do that as kids either. We didn't do that either. I mean,
Nope.
We just went out and played it. And then if someone were to ask us these same questions, we'd have the same kind of answers. It doesn't mean
we matured.
Right.
We developed, and we need to give our kids the same opportunity to do that, instead of trying to put them in a box and saying this is how baseball's played.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, they can probably tell us how the game's played better than we can tell them. Mm-hmm. Because as you say, it's theirs.
Yeah.
It's for the kids. So why wouldn't they be the ones that define it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because we get in our own way sometimes. We've talked about that a lot in the podcast, I guess, over the past year.
Right.
Stealing that opportunity away from our kids. We need not do that, and it's hard. It's an emotional game. It's a great game, and if you're committed to doing your best, you there's times that you feel like you have to you have to coach a certain way, or you have to, parent a certain way in order to get a point across. And it's a constant challenge. It's a constant battle every single day of our lives to be the best coach or best parent that we can be. But if we truly want to do that, then, we're going to accept that challenge and try to grow from it. And I think definitely, without a doubt, one of the things that we can do is kind of just listen, watch and listen to our kids a little bit more than what maybe we typically do.
Yeah. 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 Well, something that I learned from the kids that I talked to, they're sick of sitting at home. They don't like online school. Everyone's going to get the virus, so open things up. We learned a little bit about some of these kids' political persuasion, didn't we?
Yeah, it's that's another thing. It's like, well, people. I mean, it was the kids' answer. That's how they're approaching it, and I don't know. Good luck to everybody on that. It's tough. We find ourselves in very challenging times, but we'll get through it.
Yeah.
We'll
and you know what?
We'll move on.
Honestly, our sports are going to help us get through it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that. Most people who listen to our podcast understand it. I mean, we don't have people that don't understand it are not ones that are listening to our podcast.
Yeah, that's true. So we probably won't make anyone upset with that.
Yeah. And if
it's not our fault.
And if we do,
it's the kids.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, look, we just lay it in your lap. If it falls on your toes, that's your fault, right? We're not stepping on anybody's toes.
Right.
That's right.
And we're following rules, right?
Yes, we are.
We're doing, organizers, officers, presidents, commissioners, coaches, parents, spectators. We're all figuring out a way to make this happen.
Dude,
I know how important it is.
I lead a church. My church has met online for 26 weeks.
Yeah,
we haven't met in person. We had 1 week where we met in person, and that was just a special gathering last week. And we was outside. We spread out, but yeah, it's not like I'm not. Just because I don't like them doesn't mean I'm not following them. I'm following them.
Sure, right? Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it takes.
Right.
Yeah. I think one time I said I'd wear pink underwear on my head if it meant we had a chance to play baseball.
In the box. Yeah, I still haven't seen a picture of that. Did anybody get a picture of you with?
It hasn't been mandated by the governor.
Oh, that's what it was. Don't hold your breath, bud. There's new mandates every day from that dude.
That's true. So, it's coming out.
That's right.
I'll do it if that's what.
New orders. Book
it.
Yes. You're gonna have a new order. I'm gonna tweet him. I'm gonna say, hey, I got this order. I'd like for you to. It's a mandate.
Hey. Whatever it takes, Coach, I'll do it.
There you go.
Whatever it takes. I hope everyone enjoyed this as much as we did.
Yeah.
It's a good way to start season 3.
Yeah, it is.
Let's hear from the people that the game belongs to.
Yes, it belongs to the kids. Lighten up, adults. It belongs to the kids.
It was good talking to you, Coach.
Yep, good talking to you. Have a good night.
You too, man.